Hello, everybody. Welcome again to my channel. This morning, I went on the Doug Batchelor, um, what you call it, YouTube channel. And even though my questions did not relate to his title, which was Revelation Now, Episode 9, Bewitching Spirits with Doug Batchelor, I did pose some questions that haunts me night and day. And so I pose these questions below the commentary section, and I'm going to read them for you all. It says, my Bible question, number one, if God knows the end from the beginning, then why didn't he just put, I'm sorry, I had to cough. Why didn't he just put the tree of good and evil out of the reach of Adam and Eve? If we were to put a loaded gun in the reach of our children and warn them not to touch it, but still they did, wouldn't we be charged for negligence in a court of law? So the point here is, the Bible says that God made a tree of good and evil, among other trees. And then this tree was not to be touched, and he warned them not to touch it. The devil came along and told them to touch it. And today, here's the result. We live in a world of tragedy, war, atrocities, and so on and so forth. Suffering, untold suffering upon human beings, calamities every day, everywhere, all around the world, just because they touch the tree of good and evil. But my question is, so if you have a loaded gun, do you put it in the reach of your children and tell them not to touch it? And if they touch it and it goes off on this planet, they would charge you for reckless endangerment and negligence on your part in a court of law. That's what they charge you for, because they're saying you should not have put the gun in the child's reach. So I'm just saying, if the story of Genesis is to make any sense, why did God tell them not to touch this tree, knowing that they would touch it, because he knows the end from the beginning? And I'm looking for an answer to that question, and I think it's a reasonable question. All right, so that's number one. Where's the, if you say freedom of choice, so most people will say right, well, let me finish reading the question. If you say freedom of choice, then why does he punish us for making a wrong choice? Shouldn't he respect our decision? All right, so what I'm saying here is, if people are going to argue that the reason why God allowed Adam and Eve to have free will, and that they could decide to touch or not to touch the tree of good and evil, and you say it's because of God make us with freedom of choice. Okay, here's my analogy. If somebody, no, well, if I see, let's say, a young lady, and I tell her I love her, but she says she don't love me, and she's gonna choose somebody over me, do I then punish that young lady for not choosing me and not loving me? If I punish her for not loving me, it simply means that I don't respect her freedom of choice. And so I decide to punish her by stalking her, by seeking to hurt her, etc., etc. So why does God seek to hurt us if we do not choose according to what he wants, which would only make it be one choice? Because if you say we have freedom of choice, good or evil, if I choose evil, or let's not call it good and evil. If I say I choose between God and Satan, if somebody choose Satan, then, so to speak, and this is just hypothetical, but if I choose Satan, why does it come with a consequence? Or if I exercise my freedom of choice, why should I be punished if you respect my freedom of choice because you made us with freedom of choice? If you're going to say, I'm going to be punished because it's justice and all that, you're saying, well, I only have one choice. Choose God or choose this or choose that, or else you're going to be punished. And that doesn't add up to freedom of choice to me. It means that I only have one choice. Okay? Just like politics. Um, you have, let's say, in America, you have the Republican, the Democrats. If somebody choose to go to choose the Democratic Party, then will you punish them for doing that? Or if somebody decide to go to the other party, will you punish them? No, you have to respect what they want. So freedom of choice, as far as I'm concerned, should not come with any consequences. That is my take on that. But let me move on. Next question. Where is that? So number 2, how can God require human beings to forgive 70 times 7 when he himself kicked the devil and Adam and Eve out of the garden for sinning rather than forgiving them 70 times 7? This is a challenging question. Right, if we, being evil, are required to forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive, it suggests to me that if God is saying, I must forgive 70 times 7, I would ask the question, so did God forgive Adam and Eve 70 times 7, or did he not punish them based on what the Bible teaches us? Right? So that's a question I'm asking. Still haven't gotten a reasonable answer. Okay, next question. When we punish our children, how come we just punish them and then rest it? Yet God has been punishing us for sinning for thousands of generations now. So, I think also that is a reasonable question. Why is it that God is punishing us and has been punishing us for generation upon generation because of two people who sinned? Is that real justice? Because when I punish my child, I punish them and I stop there. I do not punish them and then punish their children and then punish their children and their children and so on and so forth. So I just punish the offender and I punish them with love. I don't, let me not go ahead of myself, but I punish them just to tell them that they are wrong. But I don't punish their children when they're born. I don't punish their other children and their children, and continue on and on. But what I see in this world is it is saying because Adam and Eve sinned, we are under punishment, we are under judgment, the world is cursed, we're under a curse, and it has been going on for a mighty long time, over 6,000 years according to Bible scholars. Yeah, which makes no sense to me because that is not saying that is a God of justice. It is more saying like, God just punishes. He's just angry and he just punishes and it just continues on and on and on and on and on. And only one day soon it will end. But think of the generations that have passed through all these wars and all these judgments and all of those things that has fallen upon the human race. Okay. All right. My next question is, what sin did the animals commit to deserve to suffer the consequences of sin or Adam's sin when they had nothing to do with it? Because animals eat and kill each other because of sin, we say. How can you make... Okay, that's another question. So, I don't understand. When you look at the animals, they were created with as a killing machine. When I look at, for instance, an eagle, the talons, the beak, it's meant to grab and kill and eat. and you look at a hawk, is the same thing. These animals were not, they were endowed by the Creator to kill and to eat. And we are told that it's because of sin why the animals kill and eat. But based on my understanding of the Bible, there was creation, then there was sin. And so the animals were created before Adam and Eve sinned, because that's how the Bible outlines it. And if that is so, when I look at the teeth, for instance, of a lion, those canine tooth, I think they call it, those are not teeth that were meant to eat grass. They were meant to grab and hold. When I look at the alligator and the crocodile, they were made to also kill, because of that grip that they have to grip a prey. So these things were created before sins, and they were created to kill. They were killing machines, as I said before. So when I see the savagery that exists out in the animal world, I question, were these animals created before sin, and how is it that they were so well endowed by the Creator to kill and to eat? I don't understand it when we say it is, because if that is the case, they should have been created with, teeth that eat grass like the cows and the goat and all of that. But if you notice the animals that kill and eat, they are equipped with special powers and special they were equipped in that way to kill and to conquer and destroy and eat. So I don't understand what sin did they do to be inheriting a part of Adam's sin. All right, next, let me move on to the next question. All right, how can you make women for us to desire, but when we desire after them, it is called lust, and we are said to be committing a sin? All right, so this is one I always think about. Let's say I have a friend. I know the friend like to eat pizza. And so I make the most beautiful, mouth-watering pizza for him. I make it with the intention for him to want to eat it. I make him to desire it. But lo and behold, when my friend is about to eat the pizza, I condemn him and say it is wrong for him to be looking at the pizza. Right, so if when my friend is ready to eat the pizza, I said to him, you can't look at the pizza. You're committing a sin. You're lusting after the pizza. That's wrong. How dare you look at the pizza and lust after it? Now, my friends, this is not adding up for me. God made women to be desired. He painstakingly make them, shape them, design them as a tool of this, as an instrument of desire. And I'm not just saying just that, but women are desirable to men, right? Now, when a man looks, he's moved by his eyes. So we men, anybody who knows anything about men, know that they're moved by their eyes. All honest people will admit, and all honest men will admit to that weakness that most men have, which is the eyes. When you see a shapely woman, a desirable woman, you lust. And it doesn't matter your office, whether you're a pastor, a pope, or whatever. profession. That's why a lot of men do lose their priests lose their ministry, pastors lose their ministry, all across all profession, people sleeping around with people, and some of them they are disgraced, some of them they are it leads to the breakup of their marriage, but they still do it because of that desire that they can control. So my question is, how can you make something so nice, so good, so desirable, so tasty, and so desirable, and then you go around and turn back and say, if you desire what I made you to desire, you are committing a sin, and if you don't repent of that sin, you're going to burn in fire. Come on, I just don't get it. I don't get that. Anyway, next question. Let me move on. Um, so where's my next question here? I'm trying to find it. All right. So I asked a question on that. Well, let me read the question first. It's number 4. I would never make up a fire and put my children in it as a punishment for wrongs they committed. Yet, our Bible said it will burn us, God will burn us in fire for sins. Now, how is that love if God is love? Right, so think about it literally. I'm a literalist. If I have 2 boys, and if one of those boys or both of them commit a wrong, no matter what wrong it is, yes, I'll punish them. But I would make up a fire and put those 2 boys in it and watch them burn. Do you know what a fire does to people? Have you ever seen somebody catch a fire? I saw one some time ago in Mandeville, Jamaica. You can research it on on YouTube, where a guy was catching gas, and somebody was reversing and hit the oh boy, what's that name of the gas pump, right? They hit the pump, it started a fire, and that gentleman was scorched. He catch a fire, and then it literally turned him into a fool because he was walking stark naked on the road in Jamaica, when and it's as if he was a madman. His head bald, all the hairs were singed off, and he eventually, when all his skin was basically white. Oh my Lord, it was a terrible sight to behold. And eventually they took him to the hospital and he died. Now, you're telling me that a literal God and a loving Father, a loving God, is going to do that to not just 2, 3, 4, not just 10,000, but millions and millions of people throughout the ages. People are going to be thrown in a lake of fire to burn, and God is going to watch that happen. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. I just do not buy into this. It is just, for me, it is not within the character of a good and love God that calls himself love. It is totally contrary to the nature of love, and it does not matter what sin, even what sin anyone committed. I cannot envision God doing that to his children. Okay, so I need answers for that, and I know these guys. I don't know if they're planning to get back and to answer my question, but I'm posing it nonetheless. Number 5. So, I would not sit and watch a child or anyone suffer or die. Yet, God, who sees everything, you're interrupting me, guy. I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes you get interrupted. Anyway, let me get back on track. Right, so let me read it over to where I was. So I would not sit and watch a child or anyone for that matter suffer or die. Yet God, who sees everything, has been watching human beings suffer for thousands of years now. How can he be a good God and watch all these things? Okay, so I always use human versus God because God is supposed to be far higher, better, loving, and God doesn't have any evil in him, so he's a good God. We are evil and we are sinful. Yet, if I see a child out there and he is going into a fire, he's walking into a car, something's going to hit him down, or anybody for that, it doesn't have to be a child, anybody who I see is going to suffer some consequences, some hurt, some harm, I, as an evil, sinful being, would try to avert that danger and save that person. That's how we are naturally. As a matter of fact, even in the animal kingdom, I see animals saving other animals at times, you know. I've seen rhino save giraffes from the crocodile. I've seen, so many of these things I've seen happen. But yet, our Bible is telling us that there is a God who loves, is a God of love, yet for thousands of years he has been watching children die. He has been watching rape. He has been watching trauma. He has been watching tragedy. He has been watching war. Oh my Lord, if I ever start. The genocide that happened in Rwanda, where people were going around hacking each other with machete, and over nearly 1 million people were hacked to death. They kill each other over some whatever it was, right? You talk about the Holocaust with what is his name, Hitler rounded up the Jews, and they were God's people, and they were taken to gas chambers, and some of them were told that they're going to be taken to nice places, and they took them in the gas chamber, turned on the gas chamber, and killed those people. Some of them, mothers, had their little ones on the breast, and yet they were sprayed with machine guns. Families were separated. I mean, the atrocity that people endured, was just unheard of. And God has been sitting and watching those things for millennia. How is that consistent with a God of love? How can he stomach to see those evil and watch people suffer in pain and anguish? And he's a God of love. I just don't get it, because I would not be able to do such thing. So it would suggest that the God who we talk about is as a stomach, I should say, for evil and watching evil, because he sees everything that is happening and he allows it. Yet we as human beings would not allow it. So that is a dilemma that I don't understand. And let me say something, my friends. All of these questions I'm asking are for someone to explain to me. I'm not saying I don't believe in God. I'm not saying I am anti-God. I'm just saying things must make sense. And if God give me a brain to think, if God give me wisdom and knowledge to ask question, then I'm going to ask it. And once it can be asked, I'm asking it, because things must add up and make sense. Because some people in this world are not just going to accept, sorry, just gonna accept everything that they read in a book or everything. And when you look around in the practicality of it, just doesn't make any sense. So yes, I love my God. Yes, I love my Bible. These days I'm kind of like, it says, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So I'm now these days holding fast the good things in the Bible, because there are some things in it I just can't buy. Anyway, those are some of the questions that I've asked, and let me see. There's another one here. Number 6. When other religions practice blood sacrifice to their God, we condemn them But what's the difference between that and the Christian religion that demand blood shedding of animals and ultimately the blood of his only son in order to forgive and save us? Could God not have found a gentler way to save us sinners rather than the savagery that he sent his son to endure? Does this God delight in the suffering of animals and human beings? Is he a bloodthirsty God? So, that's the question today. When we think of other religion in many parts of the world, they will take a child and do some blood sacrifice, or they will take maybe animals or whatever it is. They do blood sacrifice, yeah? And we call it satanic. But the question is, when you think about the savagery that was involved in the old system of saving people, they had to cut the throats of turtle doves and lambs and bulls and goats and you name it. They had to do all those things in order to get forgiveness of sins and redemption from this God who demands those things. And then those things did not work, so thousands of animals were murdered, killed, or whatever you want to call it. And it says it still didn't work. And then, since that didn't work, the Bible says God sent his son to die for us. Now, sometimes we say men kill God, the Romans kill the Son of God, or the Jews kill the Son of God, or people kill the Son of God. But it was, according to the Bible, it was ordained. He was sent by God. He himself, Jesus said, nobody took my life. I lay it down for my sheep. So what this is saying is that God's only way to save humanity was through some cruelty. Because, come on, crucifixion was utter cruelty invented by man, right? And God knew that what his son would have gone through. And he sent him for nail to be ripped through his hands and feet and whipped and all of that, spat upon. All of that is in order to maybe appease God and to get us forgiveness. So what this Bible is saying is what this story is saying, that there is no other way that you can be saved except some cruelty to animals and to the Son of God. And I'm saying, couldn't God have found a nicer, gentler, humane way? Let's say, for instance, he sent his son Jesus here because we're lost. And when Jesus came, he gave us a bunch of writing and readings and tell us what to do, what not to do, and how to be saved. And then he came and he lived for a while, and then he went back to heaven. Wouldn't that be a gentler, more acceptable thing than no, he was sent and he was sent to be killed, and then he suffered and he was whipped. Matter of fact, he went through such agony that he said, please let this cup be passed from me, you know. And my God, why have you forsaken me? He was in anguish, in agony. And that was that was part of the way God can only save us. Like, seriously? You mean God could not have found a gentler, loving way to save humanity? I got a serious, serious problem these days with this, man, because this is saying God delights in the torture of animals and human beings and bloodshed. So what's the difference between that and the blood sacrifice that people make? I just can't see the difference. So these are some of the questions, my friend, that perplex me. As I say, I am not an unbeliever. I know there's a God. I know He has been good to me. I love Him with all my heart, but sometimes I wonder. And let me give you a bonus question. David, it's not in this, but David was in First Chronicles. It says that wherever David went, he got some girl pregnant. So he had a lot of kids, and he had wives, he had concubines. And he was a man who is very fleshly, very lustful, very loved sex a lot, and all of that. And wherever he went, he got girls pregnant. Okay. Added to that, he saw a girl by the name of Bathsheba was bathing across the road from him, or across the way, whatever, next door, or whatever you want to put it. Then he called that girl, and the long and short of it is that he slept with her, and then after sleeping with her, she got pregnant. Now his plot was to hide this sin that he committed, so he sent her husband to the forefront of the battle at the front, because why? He had a plan to make sure that this man is dead, because he didn't want the disgrace. That's after he had failed to get the man to go sleep with his wife. And the man said, "No, I'm not going to sleep with my wife right now. There's a war going on. I'm going to fight." But he slept with the man's wife, and she got pregnant. And then he wanted to blame it on the man, but the man did not agree to sleep with his wife at the time. So he wanted to hide the wrong that he did. And so he sent him at the forefront of a battle, and he got killed. Now, the question is, when you read some other parts of the Bible, it states that David was a man after my own heart, God's own heart. And I'm saying and there are many parts of the Bible that were using David as the standard by which other kings were to be judged. He says, "You have, except you be like my son David," or whatever it was. And there's a constant expression, "except you be like David," blah, blah, blah. So David was lifted up by the scriptures as the man to emulate, to be like. You have to come up to David's standard. Yet David was, as a matter of fact, in addition to that, is not just the lustfulness and the sex life of David, but David was a man who was a bloody man, was a murderer, was a killer, right? Warrior. And the Bible says that Saul killed his thousands, but David is 10,000, and Saul got jealous after him because he killed more people than Saul. So David had a lot of blood on his hand, yet he was the model, he was the role model for the kings and so on. So these things in the Bible are really hard to grapple with, especially if you're a thinker. I mean, you can always go on and just sing "Jesus Love Me," this I know, I'm going to heaven by and by, and you don't question anything, you just accept everything. But when you are blessed with the ability to think, you've got to think and ask some tough questions. And sometimes I even wonder, am I going too far? Am I asking too many questions? But I don't believe so, because if God gives me the brain to think, it's going to think. I am not dumb. I am not dumbed down. These things are things that you're going to one day begin to question stuff, and things. We as human beings, we are logical. It must make sense to us. But a lot of the things that I'm reading just not adding up. Some of it making God look like he's evil. And I know he's not evil. He's a good God. So why is our Bible painting this picture of this angry God who is just want to burn people in fire? He want to kill. He want to destroy. He want to, the only way he knows is the suffering way and all of that. It just doesn't add up. There are so many more, like the one with the tithe and all of that. But I guess as I go by, I will address those. Don't want to go any longer. So. If you have some answers to me, leave your answers below if you have questions. But the last thing I want to hear from anyone is, because I'm thinking out loud, people are going to condemn me for thinking. because a lot of people have a lot of question in their mind about salvation, about God, about the Bible, but they are not brave enough to say it. Well, I am brave enough to say it because I believe if I can think it and ask it, it should be asked. All right. So thank you everybody for listening. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Give me a thumbs down if you don't like the video. And most of all, leave your comments and tell me what do you think about these questions and what are your answers to my tough questions for the Christian world. Thank you very much. God bless and goodbye.